Buddy Tim May of the Tim May Show on FanStreamSports.com, and you will be on tomorrow with our buddy Matt Fontana, I believe, right? Is that correct? Do I have that right?
Anytime I can get on with one of Ron Burgundy's best friends, absolutely. 10-1 tomorrow. We're going to talk college football, I hope.
I'm going to be honest, Brian. That stuff's just a little Sex Panther. Just keep that going a little bit. Little Brian Fontana, I like it. Hey,
right.
Is there, I started the week with this, is there a great team in college football right now?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. I'm stammering. I'm hemming and hawing. I think I'll call that voter from, where's she from, San Jose, and ask her. No, I don't think there is. I mean, Ohio State's still got to come a ways, I think, for example, offensively, you know what I mean? And believe me, they're getting there. But, we've seen one test so far, true test. Although I thought Ohio, you gave them more of a test in the red zone than they expected. Let's put it that way. And I saw a little bit of I saw a little bit of hesitation by Julian Sayin in the red zone on a couple of three passes that could have been touchdowns. But he'll get that figured out. But no, I don't think there is, Beau, to answer your question. I mean, I think there are several teams. I think Ohio State's really good. I think Ohio State's super talented. Ohio State's as talented, if not more talented, than anybody in the country. But I actually haven't eyeballed Oregon playing. They've been impressive from a score standpoint. But it's really funny when you look around the country right now and you see some of the people talking about the college football teams of 2025. Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon are near at the top of their list, right? With Georgia maybe in there. I got to see more of Georgia from a defensive standpoint because they kind of got lit up last week. Tennessee couldn't finish the deal per Tennessee. But I'm hemming and hawing and stammering because, no, I don't think there is a complete team, at least at this point. But, we're 3 games into the season, at least in terms of Ohio State, and this team is only going to get better.
Yeah, I kind of came to the conclusion on Monday that this team is probably playing as good as anybody, and it's got the highest ceiling. The other ones that I mentioned were Oregon, and I do really like Oklahoma right now. We'll see. They got a big test against Auburn, so we'll see how that goes. And Penn State's done what Franklin always does. They just don't look as impressive as I think they should. But the point of all of this, I think, is I do feel like if a year ago you and I are having this conversation, and by God we may have, if I were to give you Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Georgia, or the field, you probably would have taken those 4. And this year, I feel like it could be like 12 maybe teams who kind of all are similar maybe. I just think it's going to be way more wide open here over the next couple months.
Yeah, people think I don't know what people really think of me. But
I love you. You're beloved.
I'm beloved. People think maybe I'm not. I really think Florida State, for example, is a great. They've remade their team. I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now after watching them go toe to toe with Alabama and shove Alabama around. And I'm talking about both sides of the ball. I'm talking about their lines. You look at that and you go, wow, they did it the right way. And they went out and got a playmaker at quarterback. And then you look at Miami. You know about Miami. You've been around Miami for a long time, or were a long time ago. Those teams in Florida. I mean, Miami looks different. Miami sort of looks like that Oregon team that Mario Cristobal put together in 2021, but they got a better quarterback, and they play almost like a Big Ten team if you watch them line up. I mean, they're very physical. Their wide receivers block like demons. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
They do, yeah.
When you think of Miami, you don't think of that, right? And
no.
So there are these mystery teams out there, and a couple of them are in the ACC, which I think is really going to be interesting as this thing comes down to the nub. It's an interesting year in college football because this would be the year to expand to 16, I think, and be legit, and nobody gets a bye.
No, I'm with you. I would love. To me, 8. I was good with 2. I'm good with 4. I'm good with 8. I think after that it gets a little silly.
8.
8's a nice sweet spot. If you're going to do it, now's the time.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead and move to 16. That would just be two more games on campuses somewhere. Go ahead.
Right. Perfect. You've been to Lincoln several times since they've been in the conference. You know what that program was in a bygone era. It's been a long time. I think honestly they'd sign up for what Bielema did right now, basically 9-3, 10-4 every year. They got a massive one. It's a massive one for Matt Rule. They invested in the program. They got Michigan coming to town tomorrow afternoon. When you've been to Nebraska, what is kind of your perception of what that once very, very proud program expects out of its football team now?
The difference since Frank Solich left, they've been wandering in the wilderness, and been looking for the D in the word wilderness. Defensively, they have not been good, and I'm talking about on a consistent basis. So it looks like their defense is better. I know Matt Rule, I'm sure that was one of his main focuses, especially over the off season. You got to get the defense better. That's what's. I think Dylan Raiola is definitely. I think Dylan Raiola is definitely one of the top young quarterbacks in the country. Got to get it done on a consistent basis. But what they've been in search of these several decades, is their defense. I'm not sure that they would ever get back to the black shirts. But right now, the black shirts, if they call them that, it's kind of a farce until you prove it. And Saturday is a great. You should win this game. The way I look at Nebraska, you're going against a freshman quarterback, and you're going against a Michigan team that I still don't think is average. Let me put it that way. But they do have a interesting guy at quarterback. If they can get him to run, or if they can let him run, that could be the real difference maker on Saturday. But same thing with Dylan Raiola, just make plays. But yeah, they've been in search of defense now for several decades, which has really kept them from getting back to where they were. But I think that's a lost cause, possibly. You've just got to, from the standpoint of getting all the way back to that.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're at Nebraska, I think you got to have a lot of razzmatazz and make plays on defense rather than shut people down on defense. If you follow my drift, because in this modern age, it's really hard to get those guys to go to Lincoln.
It is. And I remember Pelini saying that 15 years ago. Yeah. He's like, I got to get in a plane. We went there the first time Ohio State played there, and I knew you were in on those conversations too. And he's like, I got to get in a plane to recruit anybody. I can't drive anywhere.
Well, that's exactly right. But so did Bob Devaney, and Bob Devaney and them had those hookups on the East Coast and Texas in that area. But however those hookups came, and I'm wink, wink, nudge, nudging, but how those came, they definitely had the hookups. And Tom Osborne continued through that. I mean, Tom Osborne, dude, this, mid-'90s. Nobody really wanted to play Nebraska, right? I mean, because they would just pound you. But something's been, especially since Solich left, they lost that recipe. And you remember, what was his name? Peterson, who was Ohio State's, Steve Peterson, their athletic director, who was once John Cooper's recruiting coordinator here at Ohio State.
Yes, right.
And when he became athletic director, he tried to remake them into like a more exciting brand of football, bringing in Callahan from the NFL and all that stuff, and it did not work. And they have been lost since then from a defensive standpoint of getting back on that beam, and that's really been the difference.
If you had to bet the vast Tim May estate on either Bielema at Illinois or Cignetti at Indiana over the next 5 years, who would you put it on?
I'm going to put it on both of them.
No.
Okay. Here's the thing. I'm torn. I would have to study it a little bit more. I'm telling you, Curt Cignetti. This may blow up my face as early as tomorrow, but Curt Cignetti clearly went in with a plan at Indiana. He didn't just show up, Yahoo! I'm in the big time now.
No, he didn't.
Came in with a plan, and they haven't played anybody this year yet, right? So it's hard for me to make this call. I think they've got an upgrade at quarterback, and I think they knew they had to get an upgrade at quarterback from. The Rourke kid was really nice last year, but boy, he hit his ceiling, right? Bielema has shown at Wisconsin what he can be. Does he have a ceiling, right? I think we saw his ceiling at Wisconsin. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah.
But it was a good high ceiling. But I really like Cignetti. He is really his plan looks on point, and they seem to have been really good for 2 years now of upgrading through the portal and doing it in a smart way. Boy, that's almost a push when you ask me that, but I might go with Cignetti, man, because it's their NIL seems to be popping. But it's hard to argue with what Bielema's done, right? And
it is.
We're going to find out about Indiana in the next 5 weeks, with that schedule they've got.
Well, yeah, and I think real quick, as we're talking about all this, I wonder, like, when Wisconsin fires Luke, which it feels like where we're inevitably heading, it hasn't gone well. Isn't the first call to Bielema just run it back?
It should be like,
right?
Wow, you've it should be. I'm trying to think of the homina they'd be saying to him on the phone. But man, you know what? Why can't you do? Well, he's showing you can do it in Illinois what he did at Wisconsin, and once you get something kind of rolling, I think you kind of if it's a lateral move, that would be at best a lateral move. I don't know if you agree.
I don't think it used to be, but I think he's kind of turned it. I think Wisconsin's the better job, but he's done a nice job.
I don't know, man. Wisconsin's an interesting place anymore. It's an interesting town.
Yeah.
But Illinois, I mean, it's Illinois, has some alums that could really pump that thing up if they really get it rolling, and I think they already have to a certain extent. So I think that's almost a push anymore. I keep using that word push because that's the best way of describing it. I mean, but clearly Wisconsin has done it before. They should be able to do it again. Illinois had a long time since the 80s when they were doing it, and maybe early 90s, mid 90s. But he's got something going there. You got to admit that.
He does. And I think I think everybody always waiting for him to go back to Iowa too, but that might not be as good. He maybe turned Illinois into a better job. I don't know. It's
you're sitting there in a big state you're sitting there in a big state that's got a pretty nice football played up in the northeast corner of it in that area and stuff. And I know state lines don't mean what they used to by any stretch when it comes to recruiting or limits on your recruiting. But I don't know. It's like that's a good quandary that he might have to, or conundrum that he might have to actually deal with. I'm hoping the best for Luke, but man, it just doesn't seem to be a fit there. I don't know if you agree.
It wasn't a fit when he took the job, and it hasn't been.
Notre Dame, man. If he could have just at least taken the call and said, "Okay, I'll be there on January the whatever."
Give me a month.
Yeah, give me a month to see it through. Yeah. By the way, I'm going to be watching my football and grandkids this weekend.
Let's
so I'm
go.
Looking forward to it. All right,
Enjoy it, buddy. We'll do it again next week.
You know that, Beau.
All right, there he goes. Tim May of the Tim May Show, and right here on the Fan, joining on the Brian Heating Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. We'll do a little thing or not a thing up next. Bishop and Friends, right here on the Fan.
A lot has changed in 30 years.